My name is Alan Soderblom, but more importantly, today I am Brent's nephew. And the family connection, as my dad was saying, is that my mother is Ann's sister. So to start my comments, and my story is about my life with Brent, and hopefully this is okay to say, but I was not just any nephew, I was his special nephew. But it was not anything that I did, but I'll tell you more about that later. One of the best things about being a kid is aunts and uncles. And Uncle Brent and Aunt Ann, you were the best. And I am representing all of the nieces and nephews here today, and my apologies that my siblings cannot be here, but they send their greetings as well. And many of our stories as nieces and nephews overlap, so I'll share on their behalf as well. So my favorite activity, my absolute favorite as a child, was the annual trip to Paradise. So it was mutual. It was a trip to visit Uncle Brent and Aunt Ann and the cousins. And there were two cities that we in Southern California talked about, Lodi and Paradise. In fact, there was so much talk and so many wonderful things described that I thought Lodi and Paradise were like living in heaven. And for a Southern California kid, I knew that Yucaipa was not heaven. Heaven must be Lodi or Paradise. Lush greenery, fresh air, colored dirt, not just brown dirt, colored dirt, no cars, deer in the front yard, and water that was sparkling pure. Well, I grew older, and I realized Lodi is not heaven. But paradise was still heaven. The place and the people, including Uncle Brent, were very special. It started with a steep climb up the hill, up the slope to the plateau of Paradise. But what did I enjoy? And when I talk about Paradise, for me, Brent and Paradise just go together in the same sentence. So yes, I enjoyed the red dirt. I enjoyed the drive in the station wagon. I enjoyed the big Adventist church. In fact, Paradise to me was bigger than Loma Linda Church. The flume, Skyway Road, the corner house on the canyon, the tiny kitchen, the map on the wall, the front room with the picture window. Our family trips to the north were the best, and I don't know how all of us stayed in the same house. There were 5 Lawrences and 6 Soderbloms in a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. How many square feet? 1,100 square feet. Uncle Brent and Aunt Ann always made us feel special. We kids were treated like royalty. And we equally look forward to your visits down to Southern California. And Brent and Ann were special because they had immigrated from the East, similar to my parents, and we were the Californians. My Uncle Brent always impressed me on our trips. I was in awe. He could fix anything. He could build anything. If his car broke down, he fixed it himself. He had gadgets. He had the most organized garage. He had Ford cars. We had Chevys. And he served in the Coast Guard. Everyone knew Brent in town. Everyone knew Brent in the stores. And everyone knew Brent at church. I was always so impressed when Brent would take us around and introduce us to all of his friends. And we always knew where to sit in church, as the Lawrences had their own reserved pew at the big Adventist Heavenly Church. Brent and Ann were my parents' best friends. My parents had lots of friends. special friends too, but their best friends were Aunt Ann and Uncle Brent. Now let me tell you why I was his special nephew. Brent and I shared something special. June 23, our birthday. Brent often mentioned how special it was to have a nephew that was born on his birthday. And I thought it was pretty cool too to have such a smart and talented uncle who lived in paradise and was my birthday buddy. But it wasn't just the birthday part that made me feel special, it was how he treated me. You see, as a boy, I was maybe a little bit different. Looking back, I probably wasn't too different, but I felt a lot different as a kid. I tended to like music, academics, and sugar. I didn't really like sports because I like my mother's cookies, cakes, and brownies. And I carried a few extra pounds. On top of that, I had red hair and freckles. But Brent never seemed to notice. He treated me as a special nephew with no mention of my differences. Even as I got older and found a beautiful and wonderful wife and had a family, I found myself wanting to take trips to paradise to see Uncle Brent and Aunt Ann. I wanted them to know them as well. So my siblings send their love, and they had a few comments as well. I just need to pull them up here. So Debbie writes, I always loved when Aunt Ann and Uncle Brent visited. I felt special when he called me Princess. I remember the family reunion with all the cups with the names by the kitchen window. Sending my love. And then Cheryl writes, I can't think of much at this moment except that he helped me a few times with car issues when I was in paradise during my college days at PUC. And he always said that when he said my name, it would allow him to be able to loosen the lid on a tightly sealed jar. And then they comment about his Mustang car. And on the surprise 50th anniversary party when that was Uncle Jim officiating. And Doug says, I got my desire to build and fix things from Brent. We built a bike rack together. And Doug goes on to say, my brother, I remember their family visits when we lived in Loma Linda. When we were leaving to go home, I wanted to go with them. They let me, but just drove around the block. And finally, Debbie said, I had a blast staying with them when they came down to Ukaipa with my new sleeping bag when you all, my family, left my sister behind to go to Hawaii. And Uncle Brent and Ann stayed to take care of Debbie. It was sad at first, but I was well entertained and had a fun time. So during the years, the later years, I used to work at Adventist Health, and I would sometimes have to go to Feather River Hospital to check on the computers there. And when I visited Paradise, I'd make sure to go by the retirement center and visit. And I always made sure to visit in my suit and tie. And I learned something that not a lot of folks in Paradise wear suits and ties, especially if I go to the grocery store and pick up some flowers. I had the strangest looks. It was like I was working for the FBI. Didn't quite fit. But when I walked into the retirement center and found them eating at the table, everyone turned their eyes to see who was visiting Uncle Brent and Aunt Ann. And the purpose for me was to make it special for you, because you're special to me. And then another favorite memory, recent memory, was when we visited on our way up to Sun River. We traveled from Sacramento up north, and we came to celebrate your birthday. We stopped in Orville at Walmart, picked up some masks, some party horns, and other essentials, and our timing was perfect. We walked into the dining hall dressed to celebrate 2 birthdays. And as we all marched in, it was a sight to be seen. Why? Because and to Aunt and Uncle Brent were special to us. Paradise, Ann, Carol, David, Dale, and Brent, Uncle Brent, you are so special to all of us Soderblooms. And to my Uncle Brent, I was your special nephew, and you were always my special uncle. You will be missed here on this earth, but I will find you in heaven where we will live forever with our Heavenly Father and with each other.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you.